Hi, I'm Chris McMahon. I'm reading through the first chapter of my science fiction novel, The Torsetti Diversion. Last page. Carrick touched the screen. The commander's face was still drawn from the revival process, but his penetrating blue eyes met Carrick's directly from his comband screen. His mouth was drawn into a thin line. "We have a serious situation on our hands," said Carrick. "Remember the radiation Mara was so concerned about? Well, the ship had taken a battering. Everywhere from the microstructure to the biodome, 16% of our primary systems have failed," he said. "You are right to be concerned. I have Andre reviewing the data now," said Jansen. He took off his Odin. "Although it does appear that the radiation has been nowhere near any lethal threshold." "True, but the historical trend indicates a pattern of increasing intensity. We can't risk having the whole crew in suspension if the radiation levels peak," said Carrick. "I would agree. If the radiation were close to any intensity, that would threaten our well-being. But the situation as I read it is that none of us were threatened. Even so, you altered the presets on the suspension equipment and put all our lives at risk." Jansen's tone remained even, yet the implication stung Carrick. Personnel were more at risk during the revival process. That was why the decision had been such a tough call. "I know that equipment. No one's life was put at risk," said Carrick. "Not to this point, but the revival process is far from over," said Jansen. "If the radiation is high enough to affect the revival process, then it's high enough to threaten us," said Carrick. "But nowhere approaching lethal levels," insisted Jansen. "We have to get everyone out of suspension, then we'll have options to deal with this," argued Carrick. "We need a lot more data before we can make a call like that." The commander's voice was tense. His usually cultured tones clipped. "By the time we do that, it could be too late. Lives are at risk," said Carrick. He did not understand why Jansen had rejected his precautions. When it came to technical decisions, Jansen usually deferred to him. Jansen ignored the comment. He slipped his Odin back on, then reached back up to fractionally adjust the fit. "I see no reason for the crew to be revived at this juncture. I have cancelled the revival sequence." "You've what?" Jansen gave Carrick a disarming smile. "I can understand your concern on the radiation, but perhaps you're overreacting. We have limited resources out here. Bringing all 30 crew out of suspension at once would have a serious impact on food consumption. I'm sure you appreciate that." "The crew has minimal shielding based on the trend, as I understand it." "The shipcom did not issue any alert," said Jansen, his voice smooth. "We are on track for Torsetti with all systems functional." Had he really just misjudged the situation so badly? No, the risk was real. "Jansen, you need to see the data." "The only data we need to assess is on the new system. I thought you of all people wanted to reach planetfall as soon as possible. Reviving us has wasted time and manpower and taken us that much further from our goal." Carrick paused. The safety of the crew, the safety of the ship, their only home for hundreds of years in space, was more important than reaching Torsetti. "What about the revival sequence for the officers?" he asked. "I've left that running. We need all our heads on this one. As for shutting down the fusion drive, that was ill-advised. It was also impossible to stop. Once begun, Ryle would have to complete the turn-down procedure. At least there would be no chance of a runaway reaction if the radiation peaked and destroyed the drive's control systems. When you finish in the biodome, make your way back to the control deck. Jansen out." Jansen had been an excellent commander so far, dealing with the crew well and displaying a good grasp of logistics. Both of them shared the same passion for success, yet at heart his friend was an executive. Carrick had noticed before that Jansen lacked the instinct of a good scientist or engineer. The commander's confidence in the face of this threat should have reassured him, but instead it filled Carrick with a deep disquiet.